editor wanted his React clip. Time to react to MMO news. Oh my god, did you guys see this actually? Okay. For the longest time, people are asking me like, "Are you excited for the League MMO?" And I feel like so many people, they don't know how disgustingly hard it is to make an MMO. Like it's such an insane undertaking, and it's so expensive, and there's so much to it, and MMOs are like historically, like people in game dev have always come out and said MMOs are the hardest genre to make. They're the most expensive, they're the most time consuming, and they're the easiest to get wrong. And I was like, whoa. So like even Riot Games with their infinite resources, with the infinite expectations, I was not that surprised. But I did see this. Let's read what Trindamir had to say about this. So it's an update on the League MMO. Hey all, we know many of you are hungry for news about the Riot Games MMO project, and we really appreciate your patience and incredible support you've shown us so far. I am writing to update you today on where we're at. And before anyone panics, yes, we're still working on the game. Hashtag League of Legends. Holy chills on that hashtag. After a lot of reflection and discussion, we've decided to reset the direction of the project some time ago. This decision wasn't easy, but it was necessary. The initial vision just wasn't different enough from what you can play today. We don't believe all you want. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. We don't believe you all want an MMO that you've played before with a Runeterra coat of paint. To truly do justice to the potential of Runeterra and to meet the incredibly high expectations of players around the world, we need to do something that truly feels like a significant evolution of the genre. I somewhat agree. I actually somewhat agree with this. I think that actually what people would. What I want as a boomer is I want WoW core gameplay and kind of like mechanics of WoW to be brought up to speed with like modern technology, with modern graphics, sound, gameplay, like feel of combat, particularly like rating with all the add-ons and bullshit, like 20 years stacked of like just like having your screen be completely cancer and unreadable, and except by the guy who designed the UI. And there's so many problems, right? Like I think like because WoW is so old, it's like it just need. So when he says like, oh, we don't believe that you want something that you already have with a fresh coat of paint, with like the Runeterra coat of paint, I kind of do, but I do understand where they're coming from, that they want to innovate and they want to truly make something special. This is just like I guess I'm just very biased. I'm just extremely biased because I loved playing WoW for the longest time. So anyway, sorry, next paragraph. This is a huge challenge, but one our team of deeply passionate MMO players and game dev veterans is incredibly motivated to pursue. Okay, some buzzwords in there. With this new direction, I'm excited to introduce, this guy as a new executive producer, Fabrice. He has a lot of experience and having led big projects at Riot, BioWare, and EA. Maybe we don't leave the EA in there. Like we should definitely talk about the Riot and BioWare projects. Maybe we leave the EA out. Just quick PR move right there. He brings a fresh perspective and a shared commitment to excellence that will guide our team as they continue on this difficult journey. We started laying the groundwork for this pivot some time ago, and over the last year, under Vijay Thacker's management, what a crazy cool name, like a fantasy name, we built key components of the technical foundation to create the kind of ambitious game we're talking about. Okay, so they're like potentially working on the engine and the framework for how they're going to make the game. That's a good sign. We're grateful for Vijay's leadership, and he'll be part of the game leadership team moving forward as our technical director. Okay, so they're shifting around the leadership because it wasn't going in the right direction. And this is how they kind of PR it up to tell you guys. Resetting our development path also means we'll be going dark for a long time, likely several years. Ouch, but expected. If you were expecting the MMO to come out within this like decade, you're probably being a little optimistic. I truly think that the League Riot MMO is probably going to come out in like the 2030s, right? Like if it comes out like by 2029 or some shit, like 5 years from now, I'll be like shocked. I'll be like, whoa, this is awesome. Like what a great surprise. This silence will help provide space for the team to focus on the incredible amount of work ahead of them. We understand the excitement and anticipation that surrounds new information, and we ask for your trust during this silent phase. Remember, no news is good news, as it means we're hard at work, pouring our hearts and souls into making something that we hope you'll love. Thank you for believing in us and your patience. We're incredibly committed to this mission. We look forward to the adventure ahead and the stories we'll tell together. Okay, so like, what do you guys think about this? What do you guys think about this? Riot is gonna go bankrupt before the game comes out. No chance. No chance. Valorant is printing money. Valorant's hard printing. Fabrice Condominas is known for Mass Effect Andromeda, a dog shit game. Mass Effect 3, which was unanimously said as like one of the worst endings in the series, and Mass Effect 3 Omega, I've never heard of it. But Mass Effect Andromeda is seriously a failure and a blemish on this guy's career. I'm serious. Like that's not good. That's not good that this is the new lead, but maybe, he learned from those mistakes. But Mass Effect Andromeda was considered like a bomb. You know what I mean? Like, what's it called? A flop. And okay, like actually, somebody said something good. We can wait for something good. I would so much rather a company focus on like having a high standard of quality and putting out something when it's ready than rushing to meet a deadline and forcing something out that no one is really going to want. Like it kind of gives me the same vibes as like Ubisoft with Skull and Bones, right? Like no one really, I mean, it was a cool premise and then they like worked on it for 10 years and sunk millions and millions and millions, like I think hundreds of millions of dollars into Skull and Bones, and it came on, no one wanted to play it. Like, because like they forced themselves to make it that way. It's great that Riot is able to can a project that wasn't living up to its like potential and then start from scratch. I think that's amazing, actually. It's like kind of disappointing news, but it comes from a good place. I just wanted this game to come out before I was 35 and I had children, probably will be playing 90% less video games. I mean, I think if I'm not gonna try to like, fucking philosophize about this shit, but if like big markers in your life are surrounding, like I love keeping up with gaming news, and I get excited for game releases. Like for example, today Dragon's Dogma 2 is coming out. I'm gonna play the shit out of it tonight. I'm very excited to play that game. But if you're like planning your next decade around game releases and you're expecting these games to be like life changing or sort of like this like unbelievable experience that you plan around, I don't think you're like, you have crazy high expectations. That's what I would say. I think like League and Counter-Strike and Valorant and PUBG, these guys captured lightning in a bottle in a way that like is not replicatable. You know what I mean? Like it's not something that you can just snap your fingers with unlimited resources and just make it again. I really don't think so. I think like it's like the specialness of the games that like we really love and play for like 10 years plus, like WoW is good for some people, like RuneScape, MapleStory. It's not easy. I mean, it's not even that it's not easy. It's like bordering impossible. Just don't have kids. That's also pretty based. Yeah. My dad played games with me growing up. Kids don't have to take away future gaming. Yeah, and also that's also the other side of it. It's like truly, like really, if you have kids, you're gonna play 5 minutes of games every day instead of an hour of games every day. Seriously, come on. Like unless you're playing 10 hours of games every day, and then but when you have kids, you actually need to like find a job and get your shit together, and you go from 10 hours to 1 hour. Even at that point, playing 1 hour of games a day is like still pretty solid. I mean, I'm not one to talk. I play a lot of games like all day. But pursuing your hobby, having time for your hobby, an hour or two every day, I think that's doable. Do you want to spend your entire life playing games for 10 hours a day? Yes, I do. No, not every day though. Not every day. Nowadays, I want to spend my entire life. I'll play like games like 5 to 7 to 5 to 8 hours basically a day, and after that I want to go do other stuff. Want to go outside, touch some grass, go on some walks, go to some events, see what else life has to offer other than just staring at a fucking screen. Yeah. Now guys, like I'm excited. I'm excited for But dude, the way that people talk about the League MMO, this is the last thing I'm gonna say about this. The way that everyone talks about the League MMO is if it doesn't cure cancer, and bring out world peace, it's going to be a failure. The expectations people have for the Riot MMO or the League MMO is like, this is going to be like the greatest game ever. I'm going to, this is a game that I'm going to play for like 10 years. Isn't that crazy, by the way? Why can't a game just be a game that you play for a couple months and you put it down? I know that that's not what people want to hear. They want an MMO that rivals fucking RuneScape, that you can sink your decades of your life into. WoW, that you can Final Fantasy 14. They want that MMO that they can just know life and literally have like a second life in, as like a form of escapism and just enjoyment and entertainment. But I have games that I play all the time, like League and Path of Exile and some other games. And then I have games where I play them for like 5 to 10 hours and I have a good time. It's like a very long movie or like a great TV series. I'm like, that was amazing. I like that. I enjoyed that. There's some parts of it I like, some parts of it I don't like, and I put it down. I'm done with it. And like, I'm cool with that. I think that's actually the majority of games. It's because of the reputation that they've built. Yeah, they have incredibly high standards. I don't envy their position, basically. I mean, the main reason is everyone wanted a League MMO for a while. Riot announced it 8 years ago, so everyone believes it has 8 years of development, so it'd be fucking incredible. I mean, 8 years of development on, let's just say 8 years of development on a single-player action RPG. Like, what would be a good example of this? If Riot was working on their version of Dark Souls, or their version of Devil May Cry, right? Or if Riot was working on their version of Warcraft, I would expect after 8 years that the game would be done. But when Riot announced 8 years ago that they're working on their version of WoW, I realized immediately that that is not like, it's just a dream. It's just a dream, a far, far away dream, because of how hard MMOs are to develop. I remember I was listening to like one developer talk that I thought was really, really interesting. Yeah, if they're working on their version of Starfield after 8 years, I would expect it to be done. But it's an MMO. I was listening to one developer talk about why it's so hard to make an MMO, and one of the things is like, basically the gist of what he said is, in an MMO, you make a quest, you make an event, you make a moment of gameplay, and the player goes through that gameplay and never interacts with it ever again. So, an example, you start your game, you start leveling up, you go through this amazing quest. Okay, a lot of details, voice acting, dialogue, maybe a unique mechanic to this quest, so it's not too samey, and all of this stuff, the assets, the rocks, the trees, the maybe even the units are not reskins, they're unique units that you're fighting. And after the player is done with that, they move on to the next thing. So how many instances of unique content that is like played by the player and then never interacted with ever again do you have to make, right? It's probably not hundreds, it's probably thousands. And you don't want everyone to go through the same thousands and thousands of I forgot what the word for it was, but you don't want everyone to go through the same like sequence of like thousands of like events and moments of gameplay. So you have to make probably tens of thousands so that there's options and diverging paths and like different things they can do. So when I heard that, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like, why is it that an MMO would be so hard to do? The scope of it is just like way bigger than any other type of game. Yeah, instances maybe. I get like the counter to that is, what about like Apex? In Apex, they make a gun and they design this gun really well, right? Or they design this map, or they design this attachment to the gun really well. And that item is reused over and over and over again. it's not just something that you find once and you're done with forever. This is something that will persist through multiple gaming sessions. Everyone is experiencing it and enjoying it, so it's obviously way easier to develop for that. Or like League, you develop a champion and like everyone is able to sort of like experience that champion over and over and over again. So there's like essentially like the ability to like recycle stuff that you make or get more value out of the stuff that you make. And Santa. Yeah, it's more replayable. That's the right word. Replayability. So yeah, I watched this like developer talk a long time ago. So I didn't remember the exact terms. I think you're right. It was replayability. There's continuity between sessions of an MMO that there isn't in LoL and Apex. Yeah, that's true. But we're talking about like the ease of developing that type of game, not like which game has better qualities than the other. And it's really about the time and resources invested. Bro, imagine you have an entire team and you're designing one fucking quest. You're placing all of the assets. You're doing all of the like you know, trees and air, like everything in the area and the writing and the voice acting and the like maybe like the fucking like individual little levers that are pulled for the player that pop up whenever you do like X action. And if you want it to be a not boring quest, you have to make it unique. Okay, that's one quest that you do at level 7 out of 99 levels. Enjoy. Like, have a good fucking time developing that. And then you have to like do the end game afterwards. It's just a lot. I'm not surprised.